of drivers, right, make of the slash, at least a 2 cedi slash, which is effective today, right? 2 cedis off every liter of diesel.
After I'll talk about the demonstration. Mine is on the demonstration.
Which demonstration is this?
Oh, the one that is coming up.
Slated for the 6th.
Slated for the 6th.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough. We'll get into that. But we'll get into the big conversations in relation to fuel fare stuff. And here's what a cross-section of transport operators have been telling the news team following the announcement of that 2 cedi slash.
Me person say so oyisua enu kwa na oyisua na say omuyi ayi nioma so.
The 2 Ghana cedi subsidy is a good initiative and we appreciate it. But if fuel prices is reduced while other prices of spare parts, engine oil, tires and other things we spend money on remain the same, then what's the real benefit? Fuel is only one part of our expenses. The government should look at other costs too.
Na say lord friend no sa na begina na say beti niema no so dia any problem. Na mo so beti so na say on tin niema so dia and then be the confusion e ebeba.
Can they say go use 2 cedi dia kan dey any beje. Mumbai lord friend dey so mo hwe no mo ye dey omo ye bibi hu man.
The 2 Ghana cedi subsidy is not enough. We appreciate the effort, but the cost of living is too high and fuel prices are affecting everything we do. We want the government to reduce the fuel prices further because this amount alone will not bring much relief to drivers.
The 2 cedis is too small. It's too small for us because drivers are suffering. They are talking about this thing, the fuel. So better to count down than the 2 cedis. 4 cedis if you like it. Because we are waiting for the government to say something for us before you can say something about the transportation.
Charlie, for them like 5 cedis, because we did go through a whole lot in this country already. Secondly, you say before do sales give on our bosses, the car owner, before pay commission. Commission now they higher for the boat up top, for instance. So if the fuel price go up like that, just imagine how much I go fee, do sales, pay fuel, pay my boss, pay myself. So at the end of the day, be something small pay they get, they go house. So we know say things may complicated, the world and things, but if we sit up, give we the beg and war.
So those are cross-section of views, right, from transport operators who say that 2 cedis is good, but it is too small. And they would have wished that the reduction was more. Do we agree or we feel 2 cedis is enough? And in fact, this is just diesel operators, right? Persons who use diesel,
That's
machinery
right.
which use diesel. Petrol, crowd, bobu, right? And so these are persons who use diesel. And it's very important that I go over this point again. So that has seen prices slashed. I don't want to use prevailing pump prices, right? But if we are to use the NPA's own price floor, then it will mean that diesel's price floor now is 14 cedis, 97 pesos. If you add 2 cedis to this, that would have been 16 cedis, 97 pesos. And that is almost 17 cedis. That's just 3 pesos shy of 17 cedis. That's what it is. So for them to argue 2 cedis is a bit small. I mean, it's fair game, right? Because everybody's in their business to make money and to make considerable profit. But a gallon per this slash will mean that you're saving 9 cedis off a gallon because 4.5 makes a gallon. And so we'll get onto the phone lines and we'll speak to some other persons. But we know what the troubles in relation to fuel prices have been. As of this morning, prices are hovering around $80 per barrel and $84 for Brent crude in particular. $84. $84. 84.470. I'm on Trading Economics. It is not the highest of highs since this war started.
Okay.
But it's still high. Because as at January, February of this year, Fred, roll on for me. And I want to just help people appreciate where we are at. As at January of this year, all the way through to February, diesel was selling at 12 cedis, 53 pesos. Because Brent on the world market was below $70 per barrel. So fast forward to now, 1771, before the slashes were introduced yesterday. That's how much, and these are OMC prices, not price flow. So this is OMC price that were showing to persons who can catch us on Facebook, because we're streaming live on Facebook. I handle 3FM927. You can as well send us a WhatsApp message, 053-220-0927. 053-220-0927. I'm just trying to walk us through what the trajectory has been. So to have moved from, particularly for petrol users, you were paying 1046. As at March, they're about 1046 for a letter. And then suddenly it spirals to 14, in excess of 14 cedis in the same year. The explanation is partly in the graph before this one as to how world market prices have played out.
That's right.
At some point, it was $114 per barrel. That inarguably.
And in fact, I want to see something, Mawan, and if you're watching us on Facebook and you're following, so that was what, around April, May?
Yes, April, May, June.
June. Can we see what the prices domestically looked like at that time? So April, May, June. Still, that's lower, right?
No, not this one.
So
no, the one with the fuel prices.
Fuel prices. So the one after this one. Let's go.
Yes, this.
So we saw it at $114 dollars, hovering around April, May, June, and okay, you can see that prices were not good at that time.
Yeah.
But you notice that if you look at March, April, where you've got diesel at 17.1, and now you've got it at 17.7. Oh, I'm not sure where that feedback is coming from.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where that phone call is coming from, but
17.71.
17.71.
Trying to draw our attention to something with diesel prices at 17.7, even though we have the oil prices a bit lower. So that doesn't entirely tell you the situation. You don't only look at what's happening on the world stage to determine what's going on, domestically, because there are other factors in play. I mean, higher global crude oil prices will generally lead to higher fuel prices in Ghana, but that's only one part of the equation. You'll also be looking at issues such as we import our fuel in dollars, and that has to also reflect what the city is looking like at the moment. The exchange rate. The exchange rate, right? Yes. You'll also be looking at whatever taxes and levies have also been slapped on domestically. That also will indicate what is going to be happening. And of course, the OMCs themselves, they'll also be adding their operating costs and margins, of course, before selling it to you and I. So we look at it holistically in this discussion. So that, looking at the world crude prices alone will not give you that full picture. And I wanted to draw that distinction there if you're wondering why, okay, when it was 114, these are the prices we're seeing, and at 80 something, we're seeing it mimicked now. There are other factors at play. I hope I'm making some sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, what you say is partly to explain why we're around $83 per barrel thereabout, and we saw prices inch towards 1771. The exchange rate, the city, in fact, has been on a steady decline of some sort. The performance we saw starting of the year, late last year, where we were hovering around 10 to a dollar. We're now around 11.8 something.
And that is why you see that even I'd say at March, April, there would have been some more resilience in the city. Maybe April not so great at that time, but you see what I'm saying?
So 11.70.
That also cushions the blow somewhat. Cushions the blow. The performance of the city cushions the blow.
Because at that time, the city relatively, we saw it rally back towards 10 point something at some point around that time. So prices reached the peaks of $100+ per barrel, but because there was a rallying of the city at some point, the impact was less.
You can imagine if the city was performing as it's doing now, and we had that $114 per barrel.
In the regions of 20 something.
Exactly. And that's why I said it's good to also look at it holistically to actually figure out why is it that you and I are paying some more at the pumps, what we should be demanding of government, what we should be asking from the players in this space, the relevant questions as to what really can be done to ensure that stability. Because as soon as the prices start to hike, you have transport operators eager, itching, very ready to also slap their fees on it, making it more expensive for you and I to simply get home and enjoy our rice and imported chicken, frozen chicken.
You're bringing back that conversation.
No, it's all tied together. The whole thing is tied together. And so that's the distinction I wanted to make. I was just intrigued looking at the graph. Immediately, that stood out to me as to how we can expand the conversation some more.
Very, very important aspect you introduced in the conversation, the role of exchange rates as well in the prices that was seen. This was to have been what the current pricing ratio would have been until the intervention by government, particularly for diesel. That has also seen a rollback, because this morning we've just been providing details as to how NPA has revised the price floor again, and we're seeing a drop in the price floors. And kudos to a number of the OMCs as well. Star Oil.
Star Oil. Big up. Yeah, Mr. T.
Yeah. So they've been trying to. Their competition is good, right?
Absolutely.
Star Oil, Goil. They've been on some steady competition, seeking to cancel each other out, and the customers have been the beneficiary for it, because these days when the price floor is announced, both entities are seeking to sell at the price floor, which offers the Ghanaian a bit more, right? In fact, there's been even conversations as to the price floor not existing at all, but the NP has insisted that it is good for businesses so that someone doesn't cut the legs of others. And so we will have a conversation in relation to that some other time. But in relation to what we're seeing, it's great that those two, inarguably the two leading OMCs in the country now, number one and number two, consistently at each other's neck, canceling each other out. Is it?
Number one being who?
I think Goa returned to number one somewhat this year, and Star Oil went to number two. They've been interchanging for a while.
It's quite relative. When we look at the operations, it's quite relative.
Yes, Goa is.
You could see this.
You can't compete with Goa.
Yeah, you could see it too, because Goa does a lot more other things like supplying to the gold mines, and then subvention to government and all those kind of things, fuel coupons and all and all. So if you want to look at it technically, number one would be Star Oil. Technically, if you want to look at it. Yes. Star Oil would be number one.
Yeah, because they do strictly the consumer, right?
Yeah, strictly retail. Gold is doing so many other things, so those supplies and all those things gives them a little edge, but that's it. So for me, my point is this. It got to a point in time in this country when we said that we're going to use some mechanism to calculate the oil prices. So when it's on the world market, because we import both crude and finished product, definitely these are the things that we'll be seeing. It doesn't mean that we cannot produce. And again, I'm excited that we have Tamakloe refinery back on track. Congratulations to the management, the staff, and the board and all that for what they are doing. I think some of these things we need not even mention, because that is what, like I said, the modus vivendi, that is what ought to be, not what modus operandi would want us to do. We talk about fuel every now and then. So a myriad of issues that you can discuss. Number one, if we had a rapid, good, properly managed transport system, it wouldn't be on everybody's neck that, hey, it's gone up, it's come down, it's gone up, it's come down. No, it wouldn't be so. If we managed the production of oil in this country properly, we wouldn't be having these issues and these challenges. Some private people are excited about it because they would have to import finished products and sell to us. Oil that we drill offshore
goes out of the country.
Sharp. Some of them without no way bill. Someone will say, prove it. These are some of the things that you cannot prove, but you know. Somebody tell you on ground. Accountability.
A lot happens at their depots.
Yes, accountability.
Yeah, a lot happens at their depots.
Remember
there was an
these
incident,
things.
not to cut you, Patrice. There was an incident that the OSP made a publication.
Right.
And shortly, yes, I mean, into the shady dealings at the depots. And shortly after that, I think about few hours later, they pulled down the publication. I mean, for those of us who had already captured it, we had already captured it.
Sure.
But it goes to speak to some of the issues that exist. And we are talking about over $500 million losses.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah. And the reason our COA
on a regular basis.
On a regular basis.
Yes.
And the OSC made that publication and pulled it down.
Yes. And some of us have never really understood why, but looking at the situation at the time, that was when the Strait of Hormuz had been closed. There was fuel crisis, and so I don't know. I can't speak for people who work at the OSP.
Why that publication
was pulled down?
Was put out there and then pulled down.
You know, we need to focus on our storage.
Right.
That's the key thing.
Helen. Perhaps before we go to Mr. Nsia, who's Executive Director for the Center of Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, he's joined us via the phone lines. You want to take a bite, or you've been sharing a few thoughts with him?
Is he on?
Yes, he's on.
Yeah, but most definitely. And there was an interesting headline in one of the newspapers today talking about this price reduction, and I think it had been couched this way: is it political optics meets fiscal management? And so I'm hoping from this conversation we'll be able to see if there is in fact a marriage there and what that actually looks like on the ground, because we can't have these conversations without also examining some of the rhetoric that is out there, that this is also to do with the optics and what that looks like, and what is the consequence there of making it look good outwardly if internally we're going to struggle moving forward.
Right. We're all going to engage Mr. Benjamin Nsia. He's the Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy. Mr. Nsia, good morning to you, and thank you very much for joining us here on the 3FM Sunrise.
Good morning. You're welcome.
On the face of it, it looks like great intervention by government to help ease the burden on the average Ghanaian, because this stops transport operators from increasing their fares. At least that's what we think, right? But how do you see it, this intervention by government?
So I think that the conversation has been one-sided because the assumption is that it's going to ease the burden on CTOs or commercial transport operators, and also some private users of petroleum products. But these are not only the beneficiaries of some of these interventions. I think that is also going to positively impact government's macroeconomic stability because higher price of petroleum products will affect inflation. And when that happens, it means that the cost of credit in future is likely going to be higher, causing other economic distress to central government itself. Higher price of petroleum products also affects government's fiscal target, especially revenue, because of the experience in 2022 when the Russia-Ukraine conflict started. We realized that consumption of petroleum products declined, and government's fiscal policy within the petroleum downstream is pegged on consumption. So when your target is that you're expecting about 12 billion Ghana cedis from energy sector shortfall and the repayment levy based on a certain consumption paradigm, and then the consumption declines, it means that the central government is also likely going to lose this revenue. Beyond that, also, as I indicated, has other impacts on the government is expenditure, because government also procures fuel for various services or various activities. So when the price of fuel price of fuel is also increasing, especially diesel, it also affects central government expenditure, sometimes increasing expenditure at levels that may create certain deficits or fiscal deficits at some of the firms and then institutions. So it is not only to ease the burden on the CTOs or the private consumers, but central government itself is to ease burden and ensure that we maintain macroeconomic stability for most of the macroeconomic indicators. So that is the reason why some of these interventions are needed.
So you see it as a long game, a chess move of some sort, because of the rippling effect of increased transport fares and its resultant effect on inflation and others. Because the argument, at least from one of the papers which we've been discussing, is whether this is for the optics or it is indeed government seeking to save the ordinary Ghanaian. But you're making the argument that, look, if you look at the government overall objectives in terms of the economy even though they may lose some revenue in the long run, will serve as an important bridge towards the objectives they set for themselves as against whatever potential revenue they could lose within the next 1 month.
Yes, but I mean, revenue loss, we also have to critically look at which revenue are we talking about. So government, I've seen a paper or I've seen an analyst mention that these are tax cuts. So the petroleum downstream, there are various forms of levies and taxes and margins. So if you look at the special petroleum tax introduced in 2014, government did not touch it because it only needs an amendment in Parliament to be able to relax it or scrap it or maybe remove it in total. If you take the Energy Sector Levy Act with various amendments and repeal, government did not touch it or did not touch that particular act on the build-up. What it also means is that the central government is not losing revenue. The regulator is likely going to lose revenue. But I think that we've created buffers enough. If we are very efficient in the sector, this shouldn't be a problem because we've created some of the buffers enough that we could even sustain for 5 months. If you take the Auditor General report of 2025, the report specifically worked on MPA has specialized audits by the Auditor General. Most of these funds that have been touched, I mean, all of them utilize excess income or surplus income. So if you take UPPA, for example, which is the highest that has been touched with 90 pesos per litre, in 2022, when we engaged MPA, it made a surplus of 320 million Ghana cedis. In 2023, it made a surplus of 700 million Ghana cedis. In 2024, it made a surplus of 1 billion Ghana cedis. Even in 2025, it made a surplus of about 900 million Ghana cedis. So what it means is that the consumer has been overpaying for some of these regulatory margins. So if there's going to be an intervention, I think that some of these surplus, if available, if we've not misused them, they should be able to create a buffer. They should be able to sustain the market for at least 4 months. Beyond the UPPF, it also has primary distribution margin, and sometimes it makes in excess of 200 million surplus. So year on year, making these surpluses, fuel market margin has been making surpluses, and then bus margin also for maintenance of bus infrastructure expansion also sometimes make some surpluses. Even if they don't make surpluses, actually, the media, you may be aware of what bus uses this margin for, but for some of us in the industry, we are not actually enthused about its operationalization and its governance structure in terms of how BOS utilizes this margin for infrastructure maintenance. So these are not direct levies to government. These are levies that the consumer pays to ensure that we get quality products on the market. And there's even debate as to whether we should pay them or not. So if government decides to relax them, I think that there are enough buffers to take care of this. But beyond maybe 4 months is when I think maybe the government may come in to assist. But I'm also hopeful that in the coming winters, prices on the international market are likely going to relax. And maybe by the month, government will now reintroduce or bring these levies or margins back onto the petroleum price build-up.
Right. I'm going to hold you on the line and then get on to Zoom as well, because Dr. Riverson Opong, who's executive officer of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies as well, has joined us via Zoom for a quick chat in relation to this subject matter. And then afterwards, I'll come to you on the way forward, right? Because we cannot continue to make arguments about how we're expecting global market prices to descend so that we can benefit. You've just spoken about the bus margin, which is supposed to primarily deal with storage. How many or how much are we storing for days like these? Are concerns and questions being asked by Ghanaians, even as we debate whether there's a need for continuous payment. But Ms. Opong, appreciate you, Dr. Opong, rather. Appreciate you as well for joining us via Zoom. For you as oil marketing companies, I mean, yesterday I was reading the BDC saying that they were going to proceed to sell spot prices to you because of the fluctuating nature of the product on the international market. How are you on your part dealing with this vis-a-vis customer complaint as well? Because they turn up and then the price on the board is going up and they've been told that prices are to be reviewed every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that's wrong, operationally wrong. It defeats the purpose of our weekly pricing window model, all right? And we have had meetings with Seaboard and the MPA, regardless of the fact that nobody, I mean, there's no punishment or penalty for anybody who does that in the airline now. That doesn't still guarantee the fact that it's wrong and it defeats the purpose of the 2 weeks window. Other than that, let's open the windows. Let anybody decide any price at any day, any point in time, and sell. Right. So
your call has been put on hold.
To say that. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right. I heard the feedback.
Yes, there was a feedback on the phone line, but not on Zoom.
All right, sure. So it's totally wrong. And we're going to hold a lot of meetings this week with MPA and Seaboard to address that. Because for the first time in history, for a long time, you saw OMCs changing prices within a day, within a window, within weeks, which is wrong. Because in the first part of the war in July, when fuel price international market went up, when even the BDCs were increasing the prices, no OMC increased the price by a cent. But the reason why the OMCs are increasing their price today is that they are tired of consumer support and no industry support. All the argument for the past 2 weeks has been consumer support, no industry support. And that's why you're seeing it. And it is a reality on the ground. And like I've said many times, I personally am happy that my members have reacted in anger of whatever is happening. And it's high time we had a long chat with the BDCs and the MPA to say that, hey, are we keeping on the 2 weeks pricing window, or we are going as the day goes by?
I know that there's been plans of meetings with the NPA But for you, I mean, I'm getting the indication that your members are not pleased with the suggestion as to increases on the spot amongst other things.
It doesn't support anybody's business. Spot purchase does not support anybody's business. You understand what I mean? You understand? Because indeed, if I'm buying today to sell tomorrow, how does that support my business if the replacement cost of the product is volatile? There's volatility in the market, but it's not affecting us on the daily business on the daily basis as a country. You understand? We don't have refineries here to determine those FOB prices. In countries like Europe and America, they have the right to do that because they have the spot purchase from the refineries. But in Africa or even in Ghana, where we import most of our product, we expect some level of stability in pricing because the fuel that is in tank today was not bought today. You understand? It was bought, I mean, some time back. And especially within a window, it's totally wrong to be changing prices. That one is very difficult for me to convince around that.
Right. I'm going to hold you on there because thankfully we've been joined in studio as well by the CEO of the National Petroleum Authority and that concern that you raise. What we understand is that there will be series of meetings to try and have that addressed as well for you and also for the Ghanaian consumer as well. But like I said, thankful to have in studio the CEO of the NPA as well, who announced yesterday that intervention by government, which has resulted in all of these conversations. Honorable Gordon Edudji Tamakloe join us in studio. And good morning to your trust at all as well.
Egbeta, good morning, and good morning to my senior brother here. It's been a while since I joined you in studio. I appreciate the opportunity, and I want to say good morning to your cherished listeners and viewers online. I noticed that my brother, Dr. Riverson, was on the other line. I was listening to him. Is he up now?
No, he's still on.
Okay.
He's still on.
In fact, I had already scheduled a meeting with him and the Seaboard people. And the meeting was supposed to have happened yesterday. But last minute, I got an indication from him that he won't be available. So we're looking at possibly having the meeting today or tomorrow. There are serious industry concerns that we are all minded to have it addressed. I need the support, the cooperation of people like Riverson to ensure that we keep the downstream stable. So some of the conversations and the concerns he had raised, I wouldn't want to speak to them directly here because we have already scheduled a meeting to judge and find middle grounds. I'm with him on the platform already, and those concerns he had raised them. So we'll take the time, we'll show leadership, and I strongly believe that with calmness, we will be able to find solution to some of the problems, as it were, listed above. What I want to emphasize is the fact that leadership requires, anytime there is crisis, you try and find solution. You have the option of finding excuses, and you can also try think outside the box. You will not get perfect solutions or perfect outcomes, but you would ultimately want to make life conditions a bit easier for our people. And that's basically the drive, the motivation of President John Mahama. I remember as early as Saturday, my sector minister, and I salute him, the Honorable John Abdullahi Jenapo, reached out to me that there are firm instructions from the president that we do something about the escalating fuel prices. And so together with the leadership of my sector minister and my board, this is what we've come out the last time. So the template exists, and we are trying to see the best. As for the industry concerns, I wouldn't want to
delve into those matters in the open space.
I just want to assure the people of this country that President John Mahama is determined in his caring nature to make things here easier. Look, let me put some few numbers out so that when we look at the numbers, we can judge for ourselves that in the circumstance, what will situations be? Before the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran, you know, refined product is measured in metric tons. So a metric ton of diesel was going for $794. Please write it. Okay. $794.
$794 captured, yeah.
Now the premium, so the supplier, they have what they call supplier's premium. The supplier's premium, what goes into the supplier's premium and its determination includes, but not limited to, vessel availability, insurance that you pay for the movement of the product, among others. It was about $50. That's the premium. And at least we all have an idea of what premium is. Good. Now today, as we speak, the same metric ton of diesel as at 29th July was going for $1,333 from $794. That's how many percentage? Almost 100%. The premium that used to be $50 is now $220.
Because they have to cross that
the risk,
that's
the risk and all of those things. So it is now $220 from $50. So the dynamics today has completely changed. Complete change. So let nobody put another narrative. It's the numbers. It's the data-driven conversation. Like I said, before the war, it was $794. Premium of $50. Today, premium is $220. A metric ton is $1,300. That's twice the price. So ordinarily, today, a liter of petrol or diesel should be 28 cedis per liter.
Because of twice, we're seeing almost twice the cost since the war began.
Now, the saving grace is the relative stability of the city. Yeah. Because you see, if you do the pricing determination, the FOB, the city component, and the tax component. Now, the tax component has been relatively constant. Because remember that even with the 1 cedi, at a point, diesel sold for 10 cedis.
10 cedis.
Yes. So the impact has really not been from the tax end because it has been stable. It is the exchange rate and the FOB. The FOB contributes almost 60%.
61, I think.
So if you put weights to this, you see that immediately there is a change in the FOB. The cascading impact is always what? Bigger. That is the state of affairs. And this state of affairs is regardless of whether it's Edudji who is saying it, or Egbeta, or my brother K.
92.7.
But for the stability of the city, diesel should be selling at 28 cedis per liter. In fact, if the city depreciates to even 15 cedis to $1, we will be selling diesel for 28. So the current managers of the economy, what effectively they have done is to bring the stability of the city. The joint efforts of the finance minister, Atufosin, the CEO of Gold Boss, Amijinfi, the governor of Bank of Ghana, Johnson Esiama, have together helped in providing relative stability to the Ghana city. Look, let's be factual here. The city at a point went to 17.20. By 2022, that's how high it went. Today it's doing a little over 11.56, 11.78 thereabout. How much reduction? Massive. Yeah. And that is what had helped in bringing this stability. Now, when, around June, early June, when the ceasefire was in place,
we saw prices come down.
Yeah. The FOB dropped from $1,200 to almost $800 to $900, only for the war to resume. And then I said by 29 July, that's just last week, Wednesday, a metric ton of diesel was going for $1,333. Huge jump. So cumulatively, this is what is impacting the conversation. But the president said, listen, let's find a way. Leadership is about solutions, not excuses. Thinking outside the box. And I say this again. Look, Egbeta, you people, you are the journalists. Interrogate the situations. Okay. But for the intervention, for the leadership of President Mahama in setting up gold board, this economy would have crashed. This economy would have crashed. You know why? For 6 continuous years, year 1, year 2, 2017, up to 2022, we took Eurobond alone, $11 billion. Okay, $11 billion of Eurobond. In fact, if you add the Franklin Templeton bond of 2.25, that's $13 billion on bonds in 6 years. So the Ghana city was on performance-enhancing drug, nandrolone or Viagra. It was the Eurobond. And so if you look cyclically, by March, April, they would be doing the road show for the Eurobond.
Yeah, that used to happen. Road shows, and then we get some financing.
So by which time the bonds will come and provide stability, because the major multinationals would have then decided to repatriate their profits. So they need huge sums.
So there's pressure on the currency.
Pressure on the currency. And then by August, September, Christmas purchases, they'll start making orders, further pressure. So you can see when
the pressure comes around the currency.
By December, most of the companies, they are doing their financial statements, they are closing their books. By March, April, May, they are started repatriating. So you can see the cyclical nature of the depreciation. But the saving grace is that in 2025 alone, through the instrumentality of gold board, we saw an unprecedented $10 billion of forex repatriation, no Eurobond. This year, half year alone, gold purchases alone is about $16 billion. Yes. And you see, what gold board is doing now is that it is buying the gold in cedis and not in dollars. And when it is sold, the dollar is rather repatriated. So the dollar is not leaving.
It's returning to the jurisdiction.
Thinking outside the box. From the time of Don Diego de Azambuja, we've never had any such intervention for our gold. What it means is that $10 billion would have been in the pocket of private people. Okay, this is what it means when we say thinking outside the box.
And that's translated positively onto the city and the prices we're talking about today.
Colleagues, with respect, look, we have not celebrated the work of Sami Gyamfi enough. No. Keeping his eyes on the gold industry is what we've tried to do with cocoa.
Right.
For over 70 years. Yeah. If we had started this initiative even 30 years ago, Ghana would have been far, far, far better. Because you see, if you pick a country that is import dependent, almost everything you have is what? Imported. The exchange rate becomes the most important indicator. You are paying your debts. Do you pay your debt in cedis?
I pay them in dollars, external debt in particular.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Look, let me tell you something. Next year, debt service and loan obligation is about 57 billion Ghana cedis. Okay. 57 billion Ghana cedis. Now, imagine if you are paying a debt of $3 billion at an exchange rate of 15. How much is that? Do the permutation for me. 13, you are paying your debt $3 billion. At 15 Ghana cedis, how much is that?
Wow.
I mean, there cannot be an argument.
Hold on.
Right?
Hold on. 13, $3 billion at 15 Ghana cedis. Today, you are paying at 11.35. Do you know the savings alone? Just because you have stabilized the city, the savings alone that you've made, you can use it for free SHS. You can use it for LEAP. This would have gone into what? Debt service. Look, you see, when we the politicians come and we are done, you interrogate them now.
I mean, and I'm not cutting you, but even somewhere last year, right?
$3 billion times 15 Ghana cedis.
Somewhere last year, even without external debts being paid, the debts was chalked by in excess of 10 billion by share numbers that
just
the exchange rate
had
improved. In fact, the exchange rate's performance is what has supported a lot of the state-owned enterprises. Absolutely. And their books. ECG yesterday released their financials, and you see that the exchange rate has done some magic in relation to that.
Because you see, the IPPs, first of all, the power purchase agreements are in kilowatt cents. They are in kilowatt cents.
Dollar related.
Dollar related. So when you are paying the independent power producers for power produced or generated, and they say, okay, we have generated maybe 200 megawatts compared to the tariff approved by PURC. By the time you are done, you see you are paying so much because it's dollar index. So when you stabilize the Ghana cedi, ECG will mobilize, because you see the power is produced in dollars but sold in cedis. Yeah. So you need to mobilize more Ghana cedis
to pay off.
So the stability of the cedi, the savings it has brought to this economy, you have no idea.
Fantastic.
You cannot underestimate that.
That's what basically bloats
our debts burden as well. And that has been, in fact, I've been on the screen on
borrowing,
TV.
It's
borrowing has It's always pegged to the dollar, right? Edudji, just as we round up, particularly on the fuel and the conversation, fantastic initiative, intervention, and all of that. But at the heart of it is a conversation as to how do we not return to conversations like these and having government to intervene. It shouldn't always be a slash in terms of margins and levies and others.
Can I tell you something? U.S. has been accumulating reserves, crude reserves, for over 50 years. In fact, in the middle of this crisis, the International Energy Commission released 400 million barrels of accumulated reserve to cushion the impact. U.S. alone released about 120 million barrels. It got consumed within a month. Today, as we speak today, with the greatest of respect, if you pick the price of a liter of American, they call it gas, petrol. Before the war, it was $2.80. Today it's almost $5. You can call anybody in America.
I mean, they are feeling it in the U.S. as well.
So I am saying that no matter how much reserve you have, depending on the crisis, it can make nonsense of the reserve. So I do not want to dwell so much on the question of reserve accumulation. It all depends on. But again, what I believe that government together, and I sit on an authority that's supposed to advise government on the way forward. We have issued some papers and others, and we strongly believe that the people who have the final say will look our way.
And who are these individuals who have the final say, who are supposed
Obviously,
to do that?
the people who have the final say. MPA is subject to policy directions and directives from central government. We don't sit on our own. Ours is to implement government policies and directives.
After the 1 month, what next?
You know, like I said, in this particular window, the average that we pick, we're doing plus or minus $130, $1,300 per metric ton. But today, a metric ton had fallen to 1,200. And if this continues in the next 10 days, if this continues fall, it will significantly impact maybe a reduction. Now, you notice that I've been observing President Trump, who had given an indication that he had paused the
firing and all of that
again, and that Oman and some of the Gulf countries. In fact, according to him, he had spoken to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, MBS, who had given he gave him an option, whether continuous bombing or diplomatic solution. And according to him, the Saudi Crown Prince believes that diplomatic solution. Because you see, the Iranians have also adopted a strategy of retaliatory attacks. Obviously, from Tehran to California, which is closer, you need almost 11 hours of flight.
Any missile can't possibly be intercepted, and
you
so
need a missile that would have to travel from. So the Iranians have adopted a strategy of rather going against those who have offered sanctuary to the Americans. And so I think there's a collective distraction. And so reasoning is beginning to prevail. And I'm very hopeful that, in all of this, I am minded to associate with Martin Luther King Jr. He said there's no better option to cautious optimism. We will be cautiously optimistic in the circumstance. But I want to say thank you to the President for the relief. For every gallon the government is absorbing 9 cedis.
Yeah.
For every gallon.
For a gallon, it's 9 cedis. For a liter, it's 2 cedis, yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
And we saw that subsequently as well, the price floor was reviewed after that announcement came forward as well.
Absolutely.
And it's to reflect in relation to that. Right. As always, appreciative that you can make time to speak to us here in the studio. That's Edudji. Gordon Edudji Tamakloe. He's the CEO of the National Petroleum Authority, who joined us in studio, providing a bit more in terms of insight as to this. And so we know it's margins, right? It's not directly government taxes and all of that, which are being affected. Let me round up the conversation with Benjamin Insia and Riverson. Ben, we've been hearing from the... Yes, they are still on the line.
It's only fair that I express my warm regards to Benjamin Insia. They are the...
Kindly speak into...
my warm regards to Benjamin Insia and co. They are the CSOs within the downstream and the energy sector. We appreciate the feedback from them. We believe that we don't know it all. And at all material time, when we have constructive feedback from them, we will take it, we will shape policy, we will shape our actions in the authority. So I want to appreciate what they are doing.
Fantastic. Mr. Insia, you have the final word, as commendations have come towards you as well this morning.
Yes, I think that the CEO of MPA, Mr. Edudji Tamakloe, is right. The city has performed tremendously well, and the reason why is not seeing prices surge. But we all know that also the city is not a static emotion of depreciation. It appreciates and depreciates at all times. So one thing I think MPA we need to address as a country is how to insulate ourselves from being price takers, because these prices are quoted on the international market, as he mentioned, and we as a country just take the prices from these international sources. So now that we are scaling up refining, I think that in the medium term, we need to stop being price takers so that it insulates ourselves from some of these external prices that is likely going to affect our economy. Beyond that, I think he mentioned some prices in America, and I was just looking at the data and realized that at even current, with even the relaxation of the margin, still diesel price in Ghana is more expensive than that of America. So it also means that there are certain information that must be known to either OMCs or BDCs, especially with respect to the supply premium he mentioned from 50 to 250. I think that there's a lot of hidden info in there where some of the BDCs take advantage of the system and then surge or hide some of these premiums because if you're able to, as we are able to know the industry margins, we're able to know the fiscal policy or the taxes and levies on the build-up. I think we should also disclose all the cost elements of the supply premium so that at any point in time we could measure that abroad to see whether our BDCs are taking advantage of us or not. Because 250, I think that's on the higher side that we need to address that particular problem. But as I indicated, I think as a country, how do we insulate ourselves from some of these external prices? Something that as a regulator and the Minister of Energy and Grid Transition, and as well as other industry players, COMAC, Seaboard, and CSOs must sit to draft a better policy position that will ensure that Ghana doesn't become a price taker from some of these international benchmark pricing agencies.
Right. Ben, I appreciate you joining as well and for the thoughts. I'm sure there'll be a bit more in terms of conversations as well. That's Benjamin Insia. Is Doctor still with us? Doc, you've heard the NPA CEO as well, says that a lot of the concerns will be addressed in that meeting. Are you satisfied and do you look forward to it as well in rounding up?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, just a few seconds. All the two gentlemen have done justice to the topic. It's a broad topic. Set topics when having it, I mean, in an open area, just careful choosing your words right, because the public might not understand what you're talking about and misinterpret it. So just to add on, we are looking forward to that meeting. We as OMCs, we've suffered a lot. bumping into such violent pricing from the BDCs. And I believe that it's high time we understood that if we are doing a 2 weeks window, we are doing daily window. Then there's no need to jump on the first to 15th and 16th to the end of the month kind of pricing windows. And then we know that, yes, the system is volatile and we are dealing with that. But if not, then please we need to go back to what we know do best. And that will sustain the business and also consumers will also be happy. Thank you.
Right. Doc, I appreciate you as well. That's Dr. Rivers Inopo, is the Executive Officer of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Company, speaking to us this morning here on the 3FM Sunrise.
The nation is full of surprises.